our favorite low-cost ingredients.
For plant-based cooking on a budget.
So this comes up all the time. People say that on a plant-based cooking diet lifestyle that it's very expensive. Now, it can be, but if you buy the right kinds of foods, which are usually the ones that are better for you anyway, it's actually really inexpensive to eat this way. The way we have it broken down, we actually have it set to per pound, and then how many servings does that pound give you, and then how much is that per serving. Just to give you an indication so that you'll keep watching till the end of the video, I actually put together a meal out of this just in my head, and it came to 65 cents. 65 cents for one person to eat a whole meal. I was like, that's amazing. And but anyway, so we have 6 items on our list today, and coming in at number 6, though it's not actually the worst one, it's just number 6 on the list, is cabbage. And that averages about $2.50 per head, which is like 3 pounds. So it's like 85 cents for a pound of cabbage. I mean, that's just crazy how cheap that is. But a 3-pound head of cabbage is about 14 servings, which I disagree with that. We can eat a half a head, no problem for a meal for the two of us. Which comes to 18 cents per serving. So let's even break it down more and go with Brian-sized servings. So instead of 14, maybe it's more like, I don't know, 3.5 for an entire 3 pound. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. So that would make this 4 times that. So that is only 72 cents for an entire huge plate of cabbage, like in our Haluski video. That would be a lot to eat, actually, for only 72 cents. Right. I mean, that's just crazy.
And speaking of our Haluski video, there are actually many ways for you to utilize cabbage. So that's not just your perhaps preconceived notion of, ooh, cabbage.
Oh, no.
There's coleslaw. There's kimchi. There's
stuffed cabbage.
There's stuffed cabbage. There's using it raw as a topping on tacos. There's so many different things you can do with cabbage.
I've actually used cabbage in place of like pasta or rice in like a pasta dish kind of thing, where you put in anything that you would normally use in pasta, just leave the pasta out and use cabbage instead.
We've also done a fine chop on cabbage and used it, like he said, in place of rice in like a fried rice dish. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful. It's delicious.
I also
and it's good for you. And it's inexpensive.
I also fine chop it and put it on like tacos and sandwiches and stuff like that too.
I already said that.
You did?
I did.
Oh, see? Look at that. Great minds think alike, right?
Number 2, number
5,
5, which should be number 1, let's be honest. And that's the humble potato. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like potatoes? I don't even want to know if you don't like potatoes.
Derica is a huge potato fan.
I'm a major potato
fan.
I
thought I liked potatoes, but I think she has me beat by a lot.
So these come in at roughly 96 cents per pound, 2.5 servings per pound, which means that is 38 cents per serving.
Now, I'm going to disagree with the servings. All the serving sizes came from Chronometer, by the way. So that's what Chronometer or Google, like I did a little Google foo and found out what a serving size is of these things. I know that I can easily eat 8 to 10 ounces of potatoes at a time. So I'm getting double that or whatever. So it still puts it at a very, very inexpensive price. Still under $1 for me to fill up on potatoes. I mean, that's crazy.
And if it's necessary for me to list out some of the ways you can use potatoes, it's basically think of something, you can probably do it with a potato.
Boil them, roast them, stick them in a stew.
Absolutely. We have so many recipes, including that Haluski one that we mentioned earlier.
Including potato tacos.
That include potatoes, yes.
I made potato tacos, potato gyros.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff with potatoes. We use them all the time. I think we have potatoes almost every day now.
We do.
Sweet potatoes or white potatoes. This was white potatoes, by the way. Yep. Sweet potatoes are a little bit different.
Yep.
Coming in at number 4 is lentils. Now, you might think lentils and dried beans. These are dried, by the way, not pre-canned. Pre-canned is going to be a little bit more pricey. You might think that lentils and beans would be grouped together, but they're actually a little bit different when it comes to this. Lentils run $1.50 to $2 per pound. I went with the highest price per pound when I calculated the per serving.
The reason why it was suggested that there was that difference in the lentil price is because there's actually a lot of different types of lentils.
Yeah, there's red lentils, green lentils.
You can get the super fancy lentils, and they're going to be a little bit more expensive. Yeah.
A pound of lentils gives about 9.5 servings. That's based off of a 1/4 cup dry per serving, which we did that serving size for quite some time. We kind of go 1/4 to a 1/2 cup at this point, but 9.5 servings. That brings it to 21 cents per serving. Just so you know, a 1/4 dry gives you about 3/4 of a cup of cooked lentils, which is a pretty decent amount, really. So yeah, it's super cheap. 21 cents per serving. I mean, crazy.
And we use lentils, again, in a lot of things, particularly if we want something to replace like a ground meat.
Yep. Lentil bolognese
Lentil bolognese, it's yum.
We have a video. She'll put a card or a link. Go ahead.
And because they are a small-ish particle, they keep a bit of that chew and texture, and they're a great protein source.
Absolutely.
Next up is, Brian already mentioned it,
number 3.
Dried beans. And again, this has got a bit of a price range because there's so many beans out there.
Kidney beans, pinto beans, black beans.
Right. But they're roughly $1 to $2 per pound.
Soybeans are probably not part of this because I think soybeans cost just a little bit more. But these are like your standard beans that you can get. Navy beans, stuff like that. You can get dried.
Right.
All dried.
All dried. So that would be roughly 13 servings per pound, which would make it 15 cents per serving.
For some reason, the beans are actually cheaper than the lentils. I thought the lentils were going to be so much cheaper, but there's actually more servings per pound of beans.
I think it's because you need so much more lentils
to cover the same amount of weight.
Yeah.
The serving sizes were the same weight in these two.
Yeah.
And that's why it was different.
Yeah. Beans, multi-purpose food as well.
What can't you do with beans?
Yeah.
Just so you're aware, you can make hummus with any bean.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Video to come out soon.
Oh, yeah. We have hummus among us. Anyway.
All right. So we're next on the list.
Number 2 is oats. Now, for this, we're talking like old-fashioned oats in general. Oat groats and things like that are a little bit different. They do range in price, but we're talking like old-fashioned oats, which is pretty much what we buy and use when we're going to use oats. Runs $2.50 to $3.50 a pound, which is actually the highest thing on the list, believe it or not. But you get 11 servings per pound, which comes to 31 cents per serving. Still incredibly cheap. And oats are another one of those things. Like you can use it as breakfast. You can make it sweet. You can make it savory. We've used them to make cookies. We've used them to make burgers. There's so many uses for oats.
We put them in smoothies to bulk them up because the extra fiber in oats is really going to stay with you, and it takes longer for your body to break it down, keeping you fuller longer.
Yeah, they're also a great protein source. Just all around, they're a really, really great food item. And they have an interesting property that almost makes them, some people will use them in place of things that have gluten because they get like that gumminess to them. So they act as a binder. And that's why we used them in burgers and cookies and things like that. So it works really, really amazingly well for a large variety of things. Oats end up in a lot of different foods.
And that leaves us to our number 1, which, shocker, hopefully you're sitting down, is rice.
Now this is white rice. This is white rice. I know there's a whole conspiracy with arsenic and brown rice versus white rice and all this back and forth. I'll just be totally honest and say I love white rice. It's probably one of my favorite grains. I love it.
Our favorite is white jasmine.
Yes.
But regardless of what type it is, it's going to be roughly $1.03 to $1.35 per pound, which is 10 servings, making it 14 cents per serving.
Which is incredibly cheap. So what I did when I calculated out the meal for 65 cents, I did 2 servings of rice with a serving of cabbage and a serving of dried beans. And that came out to 65 cents, which I don't know the calories on that, but it's got to be somewhere like 320. That's close to 500 calories. You can get 500 calories for 65 cents, which means that's now complete meal. You got your brassica, right? Brassica from the cabbage?
Brassica, yeah.
You got your beans and you got your rice. So if you had that 4 times a day, you've just spent $2.60 and got 2,000 calories and all the stuff you need.
Now, we
except
have
for B12.
actually eaten this combination
Yes, we
quite
have.
a few times. You put your favorite hot sauce or a little bit of salsa on top of that, and it is fantastic. Don't let the simplicity of the ingredients fool you into thinking something that it's not filling or fulfilling.
Which brings me to something that we're going to be working on, and that is a what we eat in a day video. I've been trying to justify making one because we don't really eat complicated meals all the time. So our everyday meals might be kind of boring. I mean, I see other people do these and they're these like extravagant meals. I don't know how realistic that is for us. We don't really eat like that, and I don't recommend that people spend that much time cooking every single day. So we're working on one, and it's probably just going to be like what we really eat every day.
But that said, I'm kind of a food snob, and if it doesn't have flavor, I don't want to eat it.
Absolutely.
So,
simple does not mean boring.
yeah.
That's the important thing there. Simple does not have to mean boring. But anyway.
Do you have a favorite inexpensive plant-based food stuff that was not on our list? You probably did because there are tons of them.
Oh, God, yeah.
Please share them in the comments so that way other people who might be struggling on working with a budget will have a better option for them.
And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on
The Bistro.